Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Kaiser Report. I'm John. I'm coming to you today with a few things to talk about, starting with Joe Biden's magic pen that he has decided all of a sudden that he understands that he can do something without congressional laws being passed to close the border. Well, is he closing the border? Absolutely not. He wants to let 2,500 a day through of asylum seekers and then cut it off at 2,500 and make them go wait for the next day. Well, that brings in over a million people a year that they're going to say that they're controlling the border because there's an election pending 5 months down the road, and he feels now all of a sudden that he can do this and then say at these debates, see, I've done something about the border. Well, he has not done anything about the border other than forcing more cartels to get people through illegally while they turn away after the 2,500 some people that have to wait till the next day. This is not closing the border in any fashion, any way, shape, or form, and they think, Joe Biden must think that we the people are complete idiots, that we don't understand the inner workings of election manipulation. This is what this is all about. So he can go to a debate and say, well, what do you mean I didn't do anything about the border? Look what I just did on an executive order. If he could get that out in one stream. This is pure, unadulterated chicanery that is taking place during an election cycle that he now realizes he is so far behind because they spent all their time and energy on things of getting Trump.
You hearing this?
And putting him into trials and manipulating through our AG's trials against his opponents. This is Banana Republic type actions. And we all see this now. And now after this Trump trial and conviction, we all realize that there is underlying problems taking place inside this government. If you watched any of the A.G. Garland interrogatories yesterday, while he's sitting there being questioned by the senators in Congress, the man is lying and covering up massively what they have been up to. And yes, Letitia James and Bragg and Fannie Willis, they've all gone to Washington and they've all met with the AG department and got their marching orders. Do not ever be fooled by this any longer, because this is pure and simple election interference at its best. And now for him to come up with the executive order, which he told us month after month after month for the last year and a half, that he didn't have the power to do an executive order to close the border. But now, all of a sudden, 5 months before an election, he decides that Congress isn't going along with his regime, so he's going to just do an executive order and take care of the border. Well, that's not taking care of the border. That's letting 2,500 more illegals into this country, as well as what crashes through other spots where they have taken down the fence or they watch them come across the river. The only one that's done anything about this is Texas. It is a travesty that we sit here and our elected officials think that we are so stupid that we'll never catch on to what they're doing. We'll never catch on to the lies and the cheating to get Trump convicted, because we're too dumb to understand. And all of these Democrats that sit in the Senate and Congress and in the White House, and the AGs that have been and judges that have been appointed by them, think that they are very much smarter than any of us are, and they can do whatever they want while filling their pockets with money and getting more money from you and me, and spending like drunken sailors. We have given away our coffers to endless skirmishes around the world. The Ukraine is among the worst for having sent billions of dollars there with nothing, no accountability, and they want to do more. Schumer wants to send more money. We had going for us a closed border when he took office. His executive orders to cancel everything that was in place to control our border was canceled by Joe Biden. He refused to do an executive order when it got really bad. How many more criminals that we've let into this country will kill our citizens like they have been doing? How many more criminals are we going to give asylum to, amnesty to, and things of this nature that is not good for this country? They are not putting back anything. They're housing them in hotels in New York. Now it's come out that the hotels have been destroyed. The rooms are being destroyed. When you give somebody something for free, they don't take care of it. Now they're moving them out because they've passed their time that they were allotted in these hotels, putting them in the street and replacing the new arrivals into those hotels for another 30 days, 45 days, 90 days, whatever they gave them in New York. It's a travesty in these sanctuary cities that have been inundated with illegal aliens that become homeless or come in as homeless. And these cities are going through their social relief funds to house these people, to feed these people, to give them free health care, while our citizen veterans are living in tents in the street in some of these cities, and no one cares. We, the people, are not stupid, and they need to be taught that lesson. The Democrats in charge that let all this happen need to be shown the door and shown that we are not stupid people that have to be told by them, because they're so smart, how to live our lives. If you watched anything to do with these hearings with Merrick Garland and Fauci, oh my God, it is worse than we ever thought. It's coming out now, and they are scrambling to do everything they can. They hung their hat on getting Trump and abortion to get them all reelected, and it's backfired on them in 2 points. So now he decides, I'll do an executive order with my pen and say that the border is now under control because I did this. We're not buying that. If you're buying that, I'll tell you right now, I've got a bridge and a tunnel in New York I'd like to sell you. Because that's how ridiculous it is. I never thought I would live to see the day that this republic would be brought to its knees by a handful of idiots and a diversified cabinet that have no clue of how to do the jobs that they were put in. They were put in there as favors for getting him elected in the first place and helping with the big cheat that did that. And they're preparing for a new big cheat, and don't think they're not. I don't know what it's going to be, but we're going to get hit with something that is going to be either another pandemic or worse. These people do not want to relinquish the power they have. They are the new high elites in their minds. But it's not in the minds of the American populace now. And if you're not sure of that, look at the amount of money after the conviction came through on Trump that they were managed to be receiving. Starting with the day of the conviction, over $200 million has been donated to the Trump campaign. That means an awful lot of people in these United States of America have awoken to the fact that they've had wool pulled over their eyes for far too long. Our court system has been corrupted. Our justice system, the blind justice system, is not working any longer. We have two rules of thumb when it comes to prosecution. One side gets a pass, the other side gets prosecuted. I just cannot wait to hear how the Hunter trial is going. It's taking place today and has taken place yesterday. That ought to be really, really interesting. And of course, who sits in there intimidating the jury? Jill Biden. And by the way, that should not be allowed. Hopefully, we have at least a couple of thinking people on that jury that are going to understand that a crack-addicted person is not a correct thinking person. Yes, an addiction is bad, and we all probably know somebody or have family members that have addiction problems, and our heart goes out to them. But sometimes it is tough love that has to be applied to fix that problem. Because you can be in and out of rehabs all you want, but if you don't have hit total bottom, it's not going to mean anything to you. The man has a discharge, a dishonorable discharge from the United States Navy. And I believe that was drug-related, but I'm not sure of that fact. But I think it's probably well known. Why would he want to buy a gun and say that he's not has never had an addiction or a drug problem and he's not high when he bought it? We don't know that. I'm sure they'll bring evidence out on this. This guy has a history of being a loose cannon. On the other side of the coin, Trump has a history of being a good president. See the difference? But then you have corruption in the AG in New York. You have corruption with the AG in Georgia, in Florida. The raid on Mar-a-Lago, no raid on Joe Biden, who had no business having some of this because most of that was garnered when he was a senator and didn't have the right to have it. These are the truths. But here we are. Day by day, we can watch the circus until November, when we, the people, will have to make a decision on where our country is going to be. Will it survive or will it fail? The Marxism inside our Congress needs to go away. We need people in the Congress and we need people in our Senate that are there because they love this country. They want this country to survive. They want this country to go back to the greatest country in the world that we have been for the longest time and will be again. But yet we have to sit through lie after lie after lie and watch a committee in the Senate and in Congress sit through questioning people that will not tell the truth and will not provide the documentation that these subpoenas are asking for. And you turn on C-SPAN or some of the news channels that will carry it, it's amazing, because if you wrote this book of everything that we've been through in the last almost 4 years now, no one would buy it because it would be unbelievable. But yet it's happening, and we're watching it happen. Here we are on the precipice of June 6th, where many of our fathers, my father especially, landed on the beaches in Normandy against heavy resistance and fought all the way through the European theater into Berlin, which what they all felt was a necessity to do, and they were proud to do it to save our liberty, and they said that was going to be the end of all wars. The loss of life was tremendous, but we were victorious. Even though England likes to take credit for most of it, we bailed them out. We bailed the French out. We helped the German people get back to normalcy. Japan, we occupied Japan for a short period of time and made them another superpower. And yet, you have the elite SEAL team yesterday announcing that their pride flag for the special operations. How do you think those soldiers, sailors, Marines that went through D-Day would feel about that? Just a question. I'm not anti anything, but Ask Don't Tell was a good program and they should have kept it, because no one in a battlefield is going to care what your preferences are outside of the fact that you know how to do your job and defend the person next to you and your country. And that's what should really matter. We have in the past and probably still have a very good military that we should be proud of. We all know that. They're having difficulties in recruitment right now, and some of this is due to all the new age wokeness that have been tried to be plugged into the military where it didn't fit. It's like those puzzles where they give you the different shapes and you have to match it to the board. You can't put a square peg in a round hole and vice versa. Enough said about that. Today is Wednesday, hump day. We're halfway through the week. As I said, we have the Hunter trial going on, which is taking up most of the news media, and then Joe's decision to do the phony border closure, which is exactly that. There's no border closure happening here, so don't get excited about it and don't believe it. Believe the fact that you look at economy today as worse than it has been in a long time, and they can come out with job numbers and all of the other nonsense that they'll tell you, but we're facing store closures, major store closures, restaurant chain closures. Does that sound like everything is just fine? No. We're looking at on the West Coast, banks are being run into the ground, and people are starting to pull their money from them. There was an announcement yesterday that several of the credit unions are going to buy up some of these failing banks. There's problems that are looming right now that need to be taken care of. We have a whole lot of terrorists that have been led into this country, but all from China, Venezuela, and the Middle Eastern complexes that make up the terror network in the Middle East. There's a lot of them that have gotten through our southern border, and there is warnings coming from the FBI and the CIA that we're in for something is going to happen in this country before too long, and I would look for it to happen probably right around the election, and we need to be prepared for it. As individuals, we need to be prepared for our electric grid going down or worse, and have the ability to survive that. So you need to lay away certain things. I tell you this all the time. You need to have water on hand. You need to have a 6-month supply of cash on hand and things of that in that area that where you're going to barter or buy goods. You're going to have stuff that's put away that you can eat. Water is a very important commodity to have on hand, and enough of it to get you through. When the cell phones stop working, so does most of this country, because all of our young people don't know another way. Ask them to do simple math. They'll tell you that, well, that's what a calculator is for. I said this morning, I remember the days when you went into the butcher shop and they had a paper there that they wrapped the meat in, and he would write all the prices of everything you ordered down, add it up in 2 seconds in his head, and tell you what you owed them. And it was written in pencil on that paper that wrapped the meat, so you knew that what he was telling you was the truth. There's no instantaneous look at math problems anymore that they can solve. Not like we were able to do and still are. And I blame the educational system for that failure. When they came out with the new math, I remember my daughter coming home and saying, "Can you help me with this problem?" And I said, "Sure." And it was a 1, 2, 3 problem, and And she goes, we can't do it that way. We have to do it this way. And it was such a circuitous route to get to the answer that it was mind-boggling. They took the simplification out of math and made it difficult for anybody to understand. And this is the end product. This is why they had to put pictures on the keys at the McDonald's. And the registers are all now tell them if you give them a $10 bill for a $6.50 meal, it tells them what change to give you because they can't figure it out. And God forbid you gave them loose change with a big bill. They can't, they're mind boggled. Our educational system has failed, and it needs to be fixed. Our judicial system is failing, and it needs to be fixed. Our military is depleting, and that needs to be fixed. We need to be strong again. We need to be respected again. We've lost the world's respect. We have a president right now that is the laughing stock in some countries, foreign countries, to the point where Australia has a show called Lefties Losing It. And he's the daily joke of the day. Is this how we want to be represented in the world theater? I don't believe so. Enough of all of this today. I hope you are all having a good day, and I hope I haven't depressed you too much, but all these things needed to be said. We were out cutting yesterday and had a lot of time to think and reflect on some of these things that are going on. And when I came in from the fields and found out that all of a sudden the border was fixed by Joe Biden, I was amazed. And then I sat and looked at briefly on YouTube some of the hearings that were going on, the snippets of this, that, and the other thing with Merrick Garland, and it's just unbelievable at what this administration is getting away with no consequences. But we got our cutting completed yesterday on this end of the property, but we have another 70 acres that I have to get through. They're forecasting maybe some showers this afternoon, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So I may be able to get out later on, but I do have a doctor's appointment this afternoon that it will take me out of the heat of the day anyway, and we'll get that taken care of, and hopefully by tomorrow I'll be out and finish up. But everything is looking great. The garden is coming in good. We're going to have squash after squash, it looks like, because they're doing really, really well. The tomato plants all look healthy. So we'll be canning this year to get some supplies, fresh supplies in. And I hope that you all have learned how to put up vegetables, because even if you have to go to the store and buy them, you should be putting them up. And if you're not sure how, on YouTube, you have Appalachian Homestead, who has a library of stuff that will tell you film after film where Patera has shown people how to can and what to can and how to do it. So not only her, but there's many other channels on there that will inform you on how to preserve and can things that you can put up, and you'll always have something fresh on the shelf to eat if something does take place that cuts off you going to the grocery store. Speaking of grocery stores, the prices, I was out the other day and I wanted to get some red peppers. They want $5 a piece for red peppers in the grocery store. That, to me, is unaffordable for most. It's crazy. So if you have a plot that you can go, or a raised garden where you can plant stuff, plant some peppers, because for some reason they're out of sight price-wise. And there's a lot of other foodstuffs that have gone up. I stood next to a man that pointed out the pepper to me the other day and said, everything here is so high in price. What do you think's going on? We know what's going on. We know that this is Joe Biden, who has cut off our energy supplies. And now he's artificially lowering the gas prices again to go along to say, see what I've done for you? And then after the election, right back up. And then, on top of it all, he has depleted our energy reserves doing this, all while putting people in the coal industry, the oil industry, and any other industry that requires fossil fuels out of business. So we can go deal with people in Iran who are getting richer by the day selling their products. When does it end? It ends in November if we're smart enough. And we need to show these people that we're not the dummies that they take us for. We know how. We need to get back to work in this country and provide workmanship that means something and build on what we have garnered the knowledge in the past to do. Enough said. I wish you all to have a great, great day, and sure as heck hope that you're having a good day. And we love you here at the Kaiser Report, and if you haven't subscribed, please do, and give us a thumbs up and comment. Let me know what your thoughts are so we can spread it around. In the meantime, I wish you all a very happy Wednesday, and we'll see you here at the Kaiser Report tomorrow.